Hey y'all, it's Desiree and I'm back with another video. And for this video, God is saying, wait for love. And he keeps on putting the song Wait for Love by Luther Vandross on my spirit. Specifically the part that says, I remember not too long ago, I was just a lonely person with a lonely heart. It says, and I was hoping there could one day be a chance for me to get the love that I've been missing. Sometimes love takes a long time. Wait for love and you're going to get the chance to love. And in this song, he's basically singing about how he waited for love and he's glad that he did. Now he has the love that he always wanted, that he always desired. Another part that God keeps putting on my spirit is when he says, when you take the chance on love you see, it's not a waste of time if you truly believe the impossible can be. So hold on tight if you think you're right. Because nothing hurts as bad as when you see you gave up too easily. And God is saying that right now there's a lot of people who desire to be married. It's a lot of people who really desire companionship, partnership, and they feel lonely, they feel alone. And they keep bringing this desire, this hope to God, but they're truly not waiting for love. They're truly not trusting God to bring them the person that he has for them and in his perfect timing. It's a lot of going back and forth on the promises of marriage that he's already spoken. And it's a lot of simply, like I said, not having the patience to wait. It's hindering, delaying, slowing down, impeding on the process of them meeting their actual ordained spouse. What God is trying to bring to you as a blessing is becoming a distraction, which is causing many to idolize marriage and idolize the person that God has promised them. God is saying you truly need to be open to waiting for love. Because when you decide that you don't want to wait, that you can't wait, it allows room for the enemy to cause confusion that otherwise wouldn't be there, heartache that wouldn't otherwise be there, and lack of faith that wouldn't otherwise be there. A lot of people have really found themselves in a place of confusion, not just concerning kingdom marriage, but their faith as a whole. Because everything is now clouded. When you go giving reverence to the things that God is promising you, bringing you more than you're giving reverence to him, when you go trying to serve what he's bringing you more than you're serving him, when you're more worried about what color the dress is going to be and what your bridesmaid's going to wear instead of truly worrying about what it is that God is purposing you for and using you for in this time, it creates room for confusion because your faith isn't planted. And then when you start to receive all of these outside words and outside time frames and all these outside voices, now you're really confused. God is not bringing you a husband until you first make him your husband. If you have not first made God your husband, you're holding up their marriage in the spirit realm. Many are at God's feet begging for something that they haven't even positioned themselves for, let alone position their hearts and their ears. Many want a fairy tale wedding and a fairy tale marriage, but they don't want to have fairy tale faith. They want extravagant weddings and extravagant marriages, but they don't want to have extravagant faith. It's so easy to find videos that teach you how to get your kingdom spouse, 5 things you got to do before God releases your kingdom spouse. But I could tell you how to get a kingdom spouse. Wait for love. Don't try to rush God's timing. And don't take on extra assignments. I'm reminded of the prodigal son. He begged his father for that inheritance over and over, and he finally gave it to him. And because of his strong desire for what it was that God had promised him, he ended up not only receiving that blessing, but a lesson as well. You don't want what was already going to be a smooth transition, a smooth manifestation, to now become rocky, bumpy, chaotic, extra credit, extra assignments, all because you couldn't control your desire. God will make it worth your while. None of those assignments will be in vain. You're definitely going to learn something, but it's going to require possible heartache and heartbreak that wouldn't otherwise have been there if you could have controlled that desire. Or sometimes it's like, well, I don't care what it comes with. I don't care what it looks like. I just want to hurry up and get to it. Okay, so you want to hurry up and get to work when if you would have waited, that work would have already been out the way. If you would have waited, that mess would have already been cleaned up. It's still God's perfect will. It's still his perfect timing, but now it has to come with extra assignments. And I really feel this on my spirit for somebody. Stop trying to help God look. Somebody keeps on looking around, looking in their neighborhoods, looking online, and saying, I don't see any good men left, let alone Christian men who truly serve and reverence God. And it's got you discouraged, and you're listening to what your best friend and your cousin and so at work is going through with their men, and it's causing you anxiety, and it's causing you stress, and you're saying to yourself, will I ever be married? Is there even a good guy out there for me? And all that looking around, instead of just staying focused, instead of just keeping your eyes on what it is that God is giving you, is exhausting your faith. And it's exhausting your vision. You don't have to see him first. God doesn't have to show him first. It's okay if you can't envision the perfect man for you, but that doesn't mean the perfect man doesn't exist. But are you going to trust God at his word concerning what he spoke to you, concerning what he promised you? And I just want to say, it is very much okay to have a yearning, burning desire for your husband, for your future God-ordained spouse. But you have to stay ahead of those desires. You can't let those desires rule you. And I'm reminded of various titles I've seen here on YouTube that say things like, how I got my kingdom spouse by getting closer to God. And it's like, we don't serve God for a man. If you served God for a man and you got one, that man did not come from God. The word says to submit yourself to your husband as you submit yourself to Christ. How can you truly submit to a husband if you're not first submitted to Christ? How that man gonna tell you what to do, gonna tell you, oh no babe, I don't think you should wear that. Oh no, I think we should move to this city. How are you gonna listen to this man and respect him, honor him, go at his lead if you don't first know how to submit to God? If you're not careful to listen to God's instruction, if you don't follow God at his lead, at his command, if you can't trust him at his word. And that's another reason why it's so important to wait for love and to be patient in the wait. Because God always promises us a good thing, but he doesn't fully show us or reveal to us how we will operate in this good thing. And it's amongst the wait that we learn, that he teaches us, that he further instructs us. But if all you could think about is what color heels do I want with this dress, if all you could think about is do I want a bust down bone straight, do I want a cute updo, you're going to miss out on valuable information. Or even worse, you're going to cause that promise to come to a temporary hold. Because God ain't sending you nowhere unprepared. Extra assignments or not, God is not sending you anywhere unprepared. We as women oftentimes want a man who's ready, who's built, who's prepared, who's emotionally well, spiritually grounded, and we want him to just accept us for who we are, accept our mouths, accept our actions as just who we are. That's just how I am. That's just how I grew up. And I feel to a certain extent it's because it's in our nature for a man to rule over us. It's for a man to further lead us in right standing. But God is not bringing a prepared man who waited extra assignments. A lot of times it's so easy to get bitter in the wait for love because you're not preparing in the meantime. You're not working in the meantime. A lot of people don't even know what their work is, but yet they're waiting on a husband. They haven't quite figured out what their purpose is, but they're waiting on a husband. Now, God can do as he pleases in his timing, and to God be the glory. But if you genuinely think that you could just stand around stagnant, waiting on God to release you into marriage, it's time to get active. And I also really feel this heavy on my heart for the daughters of God who consider themselves of age. Please do not allow the world or even the church to make you feel that something is off or faulty about you, and that's why you've reached a certain age and haven't seen marriage or haven't seen a successful God-ordained marriage. Please do not allow the enemy to trick you into believing that it's too late for you, or that even if God did send you someone, it wouldn't be fulfilling. God needs you to know that you are still his princess. It's not too late. You have not ran out of time. If you have the desire, if you have the promise, trust in that desire, trust in that promise. And I know sometimes the enemy tries to come against women of age and say things like, well, every woman isn't meant to be married. God did cause some women to not be married. But you would not have a yearning desire for marriage if it was not in God's will for you to be married. And don't fall for this narrative that says, well, I don't mind being single the rest of my life, but you have a desire for marriage. You still think about the partnership, the companionship, the intimacy, the closeness. Is it that you truly don't mind being single for the rest of your life? Or is it that you don't mind not giving somebody the opportunity to let you down? Give somebody the potential to disappoint you again. Make sure you don't let your fear put limitations on God's ability, on God's power, on God's authority. You'd be surprised how quickly God will begin to move if you would just surrender yourself to him. And God is so heartbroken by the women of age who are behaving as what he calls hoochie grandmas. Dressing any kind of way, twerking, going out, doing the most, all on Instagram, and it's just genuinely out of a place of loneliness, out of a place of desperation, out of feeling like they've ran out of time. They won't get those young years back. They won't get their beauty back. They won't get their vibrance back. Now those who we should be able to look up to in admiration, look to in wisdom, are lost because of failed submission. God is well pleased with the women of age who still hold themselves to a certain standard. And he is not quiet to your desires. And that includes your desire of marriage. This next portion of the video is going to be for those who God has shown you your spouse to be. He's saying once again, wait for love. And I hear God saying, stop checking to see if the food is done. And I just see women who just keep going to a pot. When you cooking something real good and you just keep on going over to the pot and just trying to see how it's coming along. You want to smell it and see what the season's hitting for. But God is saying to stop checking. Stop checking for that man. Stop trying to gauge and see if he's ready. Stop trying to look at his pictures and try to see his mind and think his thoughts through the pictures to see what he's thinking, how he's feeling about you, what his mindset is. Truly stop checking, because it's distorting your faith. It's pulling on your faith. And I hear God saying now, are you sure of what I promised you? And I'm reminded again of the part in the song that says, when you take the chance on love, you'll see it's not a waste of time if you truly believe the impossible can be. So hold on tight if you think you're right, because nothing hurts as bad as when you see you gave up too easily. The enemy is trying to get you distracted by causing you to keep checking. Just like it says, so hold on tight if you think you're right. Only you know what God told you, and you got to stand on that. But if you keep on checking, you're going to keep on looking for a confirmation. If you keep on checking, you're going to take every not yet as a permanent no. And it's going to cause a rise in your emotions that's going to take over your focus. And now the focus that you could have been putting into preparation, you're putting it in checking behind God's work. If God promised you something, if God showed you something, why are you checking behind his work? You're not going to be able to clock God's hand. You're not going to be able to clock God's timing. So therefore, you have to give what he promised you your full trust. Because the enemy is only going to draw out insecurity by you checking. He's only going to agitate old wounds by you checking. And even worse, he's going to cause you to forfeit the promise altogether. Because what is the perfect timing of God now looks like a waste of time to you. But let me say this. God always does a quick work, and God always does a perfect work. And that don't matter if he got it done in 5 minutes or in 5 years. He always does a quick work. He always does a perfect work. Yes, there will be a longing desire. It may even feel like a need, a desperation. but that desire should not be stealing your focus. It's great to daydream. It's great to fantasize. It's great if you got the whole wedding planned out, picked out. But it's even greater when you're willing to wait. When you're truly willing to allow God to take his time perfecting love, cultivating love, unifying love. Even a meal tastes different when you give it time, when you allow everything to cook down, when you allow all the flavors to come together. When you cook it, then let it rest, then let it cool, and you plate it real nice, all in perfect timing. You can taste when some food is rushed. It's still going to be satisfying to the belly, satisfying to the soul, but not as much as it would have been if you would have took the time. Trust God at his word and wait for love.